How are you tonight, sir?
I am fine. I lost you there for a second, but
Oh, that's
good.
Hey, good to have you.
Yeah,
Good to
yeah,
have
yeah.
you. We have our honored guest this evening. You guys all know who they are. They are the proprietors of ZAID Comics, the Diaz brothers. We have Phil and his brother, Brandon.
How's it going? Thanks for having us, guys. Super excited about this show.
Hell yeah, it's good to have you guys here.
Yeah, thanks.
So hail to the chat. Thank you guys for joining us this evening as well. Thank you for being patient. We have Dive Ninja here. He says, hail. Bolt Kobold says, it has begun. The real Steve Die. Hail, brethren.
Hail, Steve.
Drew, a.k.a. Mystery, says, showtime. Yes, it is. Got Simon Sim in the chat. Hail, CG Jumpstart.
Hail.
Sean Davis is here as well. Shout out to Sean. His book, Pillowman and Blanket Boy, got funded this morning.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes, congratulations, brother.
Man.
Did you guys see that video of his kid he posted?
Yeah, that was great.
Excited.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm behind because I literally got off of work and I jumped right on here to hang out with you fine folks. But I'm going to watch it as soon as this is over.
Yeah, it's like I said. It's like I said before, man. That's kind of what it's all about. Right now, Sean's kid is vicariously living for the 12-year-olds that are still in us that wish we could have done this at 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? That's the great thing about CG, man. Only in CG will you ever find something like that.
Yeah. Making these kids' dreams come true. Says thanks, guys. No, thank you, man. Thank you for putting out such an awesome project with your kid. Really bringing the next generation into the fold. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what CG Jumpstart is yet, you've been living under a rock. CG Jumpstart is a magazine that got Hanzo and the real Steve Dye. He's been editing it, but it is Gat's brainchild. And what it is an amalgamation of Wizard Magazine, Heavy Metal Magazine, and Shown Jump Magazine, with a little bit of Mad Magazine up in there as well. There's some parodies and some funny stuff to tickle your funny bone. We basically were like, okay, there's a hole that needs to be filled. We don't have Wizard. If you talk to anybody from that grew up in the 90s, Wizard Magazine was the shit. That's where you got all your info from. You got all your sneak peeks. It was that was my favorite thing to pick up from the magazine rack at the time. I didn't even care about anything else that was going on. Playboy, whatever. I wanted my Wizard, damn it. So this is going to be a crowdfunded magazine. It's going to be quarterly. It's going to be roughly 120 pages. Like I said, packed full of art. We're going to have serials. There's going to be previews of upcoming campaigns. There's also going to be some articles that are written. We're going to have articles by Adam Post, Passion for Drawing, myself, Liam Gray, and a couple others as well. We're going to talk to all those people here on the show in the coming weeks as well. We're doing this show every week, every Tuesday night, roughly between 7 and 8, depending on the scheduling conflicts or whatever we've got going on. So I hope that you guys are subscribed and you stay tuned to see what we have in store for you, because we're going to dive in and give you guys the sneak peeks and all of the upcoming information that you are going to need to get excited about CG Jumpstart.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So Phil and Brandon, what do you guys have to share for us this evening?
So we have starting from the beginning, I had talked to Gat for a while, just, about writing, stuff like that. And when I heard he was doing CG Jumpstart, I probably heard it on one of the war campaigns. They're talking about, murmurs of them trying to get something together. I immediately messaged Gat. I'm like, hey man, what could I do to help out? And I was compiling these different stories of my characters that Brandon and I had created years ago. And one of them, the one we're going to talk about today, has actually we published in a small run of issues for this character a while ago. And I really wanted to get back to them. They're our babies. And this is kind of where everything started with ZAID Comics, are these characters. And we were coming up with more and more. We kind of compiled them into their own world where they all live and entitled it The Lost Pages. So that is our next big project that's coming out that the Indiegogo is going to be launching next year. And I basically came to Gat. I'm like, hey, I'm doing for each of my characters these 4-page, basically, previews of the characters, kind of as an exercise to find their voice in my head and how I can, proficiently write them. And they kind of serve as like these action trailers for the character. Like, I got these, I'm working on them right now. I have one done, and I'd like to show it to you. Maybe we can get into Jumpstart. And so I did that, showed him the first one, which is for a totally different character than the one that actually got in, because I showed him the silhouette 4-page when it was done. He's like, man, I like this better. I think this is something that we don't have in Jumpstart right now. We'll get into it. We'll see it. It's a black and white kind of like vigilante noir character named the Silhouette. And he's like, yeah, we want this. And so that's what we're putting in there. It's going to be, part of the preview section. And I think that's the great thing about Jumpstart is they're allowing creators to put glimpses of stories that are going to be coming out in the future, and it's just hyping them up and giving them a platform and an audience. So you guys, the consumers, could latch onto them, and it'll be better for everybody. Make some great stories.
Yeah, this book, the CG Jumpstart itself, is going to be an amazing platform for creators that you might not have even heard of before. Some of you guys that have a campaign, maybe 2 underneath your belts, to get people excited about what's coming next, without going through the whole live stream process, things like that. Maybe you've got scheduling issues, who knows? But yeah, so many people are excited about this magazine that I know this is going to be big. It's going to be huge. And there's going to be a lot of eyes on your project right away. Whereas, you might go on a live stream. I mean, hell, even most of my live streams, if I can get 200, views in total, I pat myself on the back like, oh shit, I'm doing a good job. And that's how a lot of these smaller channels are. If you want to get in front of 1,000 or more people, you've got to go on like Malin or Cecil or EVS even to really get that out there. This magazine is going to almost bypass that and help you guys get people excited for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think one of the other great things about CG Jumpstart is going to be the fact that I've noticed, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed that after like 1 or 2 books come out, if you like release 2 books, say, you kind of get put in that box of, oh, you're that kind of comic book artist or creator or writer or that kind of deal. And this magazine will be the place where you can come and just show out, for lack of better term, man. Just go in a completely different direction and show people what you can do and what you really can do. And that's going to help with the sales and everything of not only the CG Jumpstart, but it's going to get you this dude can do something completely different. And I've got an idea for this book that maybe I can get them to help me on, stuff like that. Just constantly creating more avenues to get everything out there. Yeah,
I think that's perfect what you're saying, Nick, because this group of characters that Brandon and I have been working on for a while, it's totally different tone from Magic Cop. And I think I'm so excited to show people that in Jumpstart, where they get a little glimpse of what else we could do as a company and myself as a writer, because Magic Cop is super bright colored, very fantasy oriented, and this is a total 180. So if you guys have checked out Magic Cop and it's not your thing, I have a lot of stuff cooking up down the line that just shoots out everywhere, and you'll see where we get a little bit of Frank Miller vibes, just in City-esque, in the silhouette. So excited to show that off.
Cool. Yeah, that's I like that. I'm not one for artists who kind of like it's like when you make an album, you have your freshman album and it's a hit, and then you kind of hit that sophomore slump where it's terrible. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of it kills you. And I'm always one for somebody who is gonna push themselves to make themselves better, to give something better to everybody else. And I really, really like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So what kind of previews do you have for the silhouette for our viewers tonight?
So I kind of wanted there's a long story of, like, it's not super long, but there's a backstory to how this character was made and how, when we used to publish him, what he looked like and what we did back then as, very freshman, very green comic creators. I've always loved writing. Brandon's always been into the graphic arts and design area, into things. So probably I'd say, like, man, 7 years ago, or the 2000, I'm looking at it right now, August 2013. I'm going to show you some images from the first issue of the old Silhouette comic. And this is not what it's going to look like in the book, I promise. This is actually, Brandon's got it right there. So
yep. This is our last original signed copy of the first print of the book that we have. So this is the one that we kept. And so you could see.
Yeah. And so Brandon and I had a group of friends that we would take pictures in front of green screens, and Brandon would Photoshop to make the book look like a comic book. I can actually pull it up on screen share here. I have the files. Just go through it really quickly. And here's the cover, of course. And the basic idea came about, as many of our ideas are, just a joke. Brandon and I were probably, riding around on a weekend in his car being like, we think the shadow is really cool, but what if there was a character that was always a shadow? How dumb would that be? But then it actually turned into something serious and turned out pretty cool, I think. So the basic idea is he's kind of like a mix between, I'd say, the Shadow and Spawn. He could actually attack people's shadows, lift them up, and hurt them through there. He could also make weapons out of shadows, and walk through walls, stuff like that. But his mentality over the years, since we published this, and since I've been writing short stories over the years with him, he's of course grown as a character, and I know him a lot better now. He's very black and white in how he looks at the world. If you're a bad guy doing bad things, then you deserve bad things done to you. And his only purpose in this world is to protect the small percentage of innocent people that are in there. The way I write him in his narration and his dialogue is, I hope that comes through that way. So I kind of wanted to show off where this character started and how long we've been dealing with this character, because I think that that helps me. All these years with him have helped me write him better.
Yeah, I like that. I like that he has evolved in his approach to things over the years. The character has the whole black and white thing is an interesting concept, considering how he is basically black and white himself as a shadow.
Sure.
But the thing that I do like is he seems to have this, like you said, this very overdeveloped sense of right and wrong. But it's right and wrong according to his standards, and that might not be right and wrong according to everybody's standards. I think you have the makings of a extremely good anti-hero here, if you were to go that route.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what this character is. Basically, he's almost to the extreme of, he's like an anti-hero, where he doesn't see the tiny glimpses of goodness in criminals. Like he's that extreme, and to the point where he could like he says, the city reeks of this stench that is evil, and he only is here to protect those good ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a definite mix of I'd say Shadow, a little bit of Rorschach, and
oh yeah, Rorschach and the Watchmen were definitely a big influence when I read and seen those. So some of his narration, I really love how Alan Moore would narrate Rorschach. So a lot of the narration for the Silhouette, kind of has a similar vibe to that.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice.
So I wanted to show you, compared to this, what we did with the old Photoshop silhouette. I actually posed as the silhouette. That was me, all those years ago. And this is, we're working with the artist Maxi Dallo. He's an awesome artist. You guys will probably recognize his work from Jack Iron Steel Cowboy.
Okay.
He's the one doing our silhouette stuff. And here is how he is going to look now.
Oh, yeah.
Made this little bio card I've been doing for all these characters. So that's his basic little concept there. I totally forgot that I had this and wanted to show it off.
I like that. Yeah, I like that art. Definitely has that Sin City, Frank Miller vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing. I mean, nobody else in CG has tried to harness that kind of feel yet. So I think you're getting the corner of on the market, getting this out.
Yeah,
first and foremost.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were going to go black and white when we first started doing this with Maxi, and we got the 4-page banged out, and I'm like, man, I think this is what we're going to do. And I didn't mention it before, but the Lost Pages is basically a bunch of stories about different characters that live in the same universe and eventually cross paths. And it's this whole like epic about this book that contains all of these stories about them. And he and his stories are all going to be black and white. Compared to the other ones, they'll be in color, different styles of color, and drawn by different artists. So cool. This is the one we're previewing in Jumpstart.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that black and white is the way to go with this. This character, I think that any color added to this would take away from how he feels about the world. I don't think he sees color in the world. It's very, like you said, with the way that he looks at good and bad and protecting the what's left of the innocence. To him, all the colors would just basically fade to gray anyway. And this seems to be a person who can't really handle gray. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good stylistic and artistic move just to leave it black and white. Also, this character reminds me of like a younger version of Bruce Willis's character in Sin City, because that character had that sense of a real strong sense of right and wrong and honor and everything like that. Just to protect that one girl and everything like that. Like he gave up his own life eventually to just protect that one person, that one innocent that he thought was worth protecting in the world, and everybody else could just go hang themselves for all he cares. So that's I'm liking this more and more. I'm getting excited.
Cool. Yeah. That's actually something that, when Brandon and I were doing the old comics, I think in the third one, do you remember, Brandon? There's actually a scene where we see through his eyes and it's all black and white outlines. It's kind of like the reverse of him, where he sees humans in white and everything around them black.
There's actually a scene in the second book here where he comes in and it's from his perspective on this page right here. And this is basically seeing from what he's seeing, and it's kind of like that Matrix style thing where, everybody is just white to him and everything else is just darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wow, I like that a lot.
Yes, we played around with that a lot. And then I wanted to show off the cover here of our 4-page story just to get you guys hyped up for it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's amazing.
It did such a phenomenal job on here. And though originally the silhouette character is supposed to just be like a black sheet with no depth to it, to him at all, I think by adding a little bit of shine to him, like he's done, where you could see some of his lapels and a little bit more of his jacket, I think it adds a facet to the character that was lacking in the original one.
Yeah, it gives him a little bit more depth, and honestly, when you do that, it almost accentuates the darkness itself. You do have the outlines a little bit of his outfit, but those outlines just lend to accentuate the utter blackness that is actually inside.
Yeah.
I
like that. I think another good point here is the with the way that the lightning's hitting in the background, and that's accentuating some of his parts. You know, when lightning cuts through the darkness, it only illuminates it just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's where, and like we're seeing, even though you're seeing the lightning in the background, you're seeing the past reflection off of his shoulders and everything like that. And I'm glad that they did that. They put that lighting. He put that lighting there, because if they hadn't, you would get that empty cow effect, where it looks just like basically Batman's cape just sitting there, and you can't really. That would be a hard way to differentiate your character from anything else that's out there.
Yeah. No, and if you guys didn't notice, he is based in Chicago. We have the Sears Tower in the background, and in his logo, it's like the Chicago skyline. Brannon did the logo. I think it fits with the character really well. Kind of that old new style noir feel we're kind of catch for him. And yeah, hope we have a bunch of other characters in like the Lost Pages Presents line, just four pagers, and we're planning on collecting those probably in an ash can for the official campaign, and then hopefully in subsequence, if CG Jumpstart does well, we'll get some other glimpses in other issues. I think that would be awesome. But this is, everybody was hyped to, Gat is like, when he saw this image, he's like, we got to get this in the book, because there's nothing else like it.
I can see why, man. Yeah, that's popping. It really is. We do have Mr. Gat Hanzo in the chat with us this evening. Hail, Gat.
Hail, Gat.
I want to take a second to see who else we got. We've got Uncommon Sense has joined us. See, Dive Ninja, he says, looks pretty dope. Let's see, Z-Rust had something interesting. If I scroll back. Yeah, here we go. He says, interesting irony. Bad guys need to hide in the light. That is interesting. I do like that. Ronan Werewolf is here as well. Vilned's in the chat. James Hayes dropping links as always. Hail, brother. Thank you so much. I always appreciate it. We got the comic art master, Joe Ball, is with us. Hail, brothers. Hail, Joe Ball.
Yes,
Black
brother,
Daddy.
yes.
Hail, hail, hail. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much. We're looking at the silhouette from the Lost Pages by the ZAID brothers.
Yeah.
Or Diaz brothers. I don't know what you call yourselves.
Either way.
I mean, it's the same thing, backwards, forwards, whatever. Davin says, I want it.
Sweet, man. You're going to have to get Jumpstart, brother. This is going to be real big. And again, the cool thing that Gat and Steve are trying to do is they're trying to line up projects, and they've talked about it before, projects where when the magazine comes out, it's, plant the seed in people's mind that, they're going to be looking out for this project. So if you guys have something, coming out next year in the future, contact those guys if you could throw a preview together. And if they dig it, that's just going to be better for everybody.
Yeah, people are, Steve has said a couple times that he unfortunately has had to turn people away because people were there was a line out the door and around the building for people to get in the magazine. And that just shows you from the creator side, the people that are excited about it. The fans are also just as excited about it. Yeah, Riot Kitty in the chat also says spooky cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very spooky.
I think it sets up the tone for the story. It's raining in the story also, but we can get into that.
Gat says Diaz ZAID. It's Illuminati stuff, brothers.
Hail.
Yeah, exactly.
Felix Haas also hanging out in the chat. Hail. He says, take my money. We will be happy to take your money.
If you guys dig like Sin City Frank Miller and old badass vigilante characters that don't care about killing, because this guy does not care about killing. Like I said, like the old pulp heroes, where if you're a gangster or something, you're going to get shot dead. There's no coming back for that. If you've gone down the wrong path in life, you've made your decision. That's what his take on it is. If you've done these things to yourself, and there's no saving you unless you're going to save yourself.
So that does he use weapons, or he just uses the shadows as his weapons?
Yeah, so I could show you that right here. So right here, he's got a gun in his hand there, and
can you zoom in a little bit for us?
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
So he's got that. makes Tommy guns sometimes, and they're actually made out of the shadows. I have a pretty cool representation that happens in the story here, where he actually manifests this pistol out of a shadow and is able to use that. So he could take object shadows and then just have them and manifest them whenever he wants. And he could also attack another human shadow, lift people up, throw them by that. If someone's running away, he could grab the shadow and whip them around. He also, it doesn't appear in this. I should probably pull it up. It doesn't appear in this this story, but he does have a badass car that's going to appear in other stories, and it's pretty awesome how he uses it. Let me just grab that. Where is it? Sorry, I wasn't prepared.
Is there going to be a backstory for this character that'll come out in a later book? Or
Definitely,
okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that there definitely needs to be, because the power to usually from what I've seen, when somebody can use a shadow, I've never seen them quite be able to do the gun before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something interesting and new. Or if they were able to do it, it was through like something like with Cloak and Dagger, where she would walk into his realm and then project out or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that him being able to, just pull something out of thin air like that is a interesting power, and I would like to learn how he got to how he is, like him, how he got made, what made him, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be. Yeah.
Sorry, in the original second issue of the Silhouette back here, we had kind of like these two brothers that were doing like ghost stories, because the character is kind of like a ghostly figure in Chicago, and there was kind of like a YouTube channel of these guys, and they went on their own paranormal investigation. It was kind of like a supplementary like 5 or 6 pages in the back of this second issue that went and spoke about kind of the realistic part of what happened to him, but then there's that other kind of paranormalistic stuff that we have not really covered yet.
Good.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be its own story within itself. What we plan on doing is a Magic Cop book, and then a Lost Pages book, and then a Magic Cop book, and a Lost Pages book. After this first Lost Pages, which is probably going to highlight, I'd say, 3 or 4 characters, we're probably going to jump down to 2 characters so we can actually get into these backstories of these guys. And he's got a pretty cool one. It's a bit unexpected, and hopefully it'll catch you guys off guard. But I do have this little concept.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Steve Dye says, "Show the fucking car."
Yeah.
There you go, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
There you go.
Dude, I love that style, that old style, man. That is awesome. That's on point.
So is this set in the 30s, or is this set in modern times, and it's just the way that he rolls?
So this is set in modern times, this story. Okay. But yeah, this is the way he rolls. So this car, we actually used back in the old comic, we used like a model car and made it look all crappy, because this car has no tires. It's all banged up. It's been sitting there for years. And when he walks up to it, it gets engulfed in the shadows and turns into this badass, basically like shadow ghost car that could drive through things. And it's really
yeah, his character is kind of stuck in the past mentally. So, he has a lot of like this old school vibe and aesthetic to him.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt like this Cord here was just like the perfect car for him.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
You're hitting all the noir detective, or noir character checklist for me. Like I've said before, and I told y'all in the back room or whatever. I'm a huge fan of Agatha Christie, and I love Poirot, and any kind of these noir type settings where you're either. I mean, this is almost like in a way. I can't remember. Oh, there was a character in Batman that actually inspired Batman, And this guy is reminding
the Gray Ghost. Gray Ghost, yeah.
And so this is kind of reminding me of that same feel. You know, it's got that same kind of vibe as, you know,
it does.
He could be like an inspiration to something else and someone else and on and on and on. And I'm really, I'm just digging this so much.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and the cool thing about when we get to his backstory, he is going to learn his backstory with us. He doesn't have memory of his past, and he just knows that he's here and he needs to fight crime, and kind of taking it in the place where it's like, yeah, this guy is a crime fighter, but he does it ruthlessly. And I don't think we have a lot of that in ComicsGate right now, or in comics in general right now. You know?
No, because they made the Punisher a pussy, so that's pretty much it. You know, that was the only other one that I could really think of.
Yeah,
even Green Arrow, they've done the same thing to him. So I mean, there's definitely not anyone like this in ComicsGate that I've seen floating around. So yeah, this is and I'm starting to understand more and more why Gat and Steve are very, very excited about this because I'm getting excited about it, and I've only seen like the cover and some concept art. I'm sure they've seen way more, and I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody in the chat seems pretty pumped about it too, man. You're getting everybody excited about this. Like
cool,
you said, this is something that people, you know, we don't have yet, and you know, people are clamoring for this kind of thing. That return to, you know, kind of hyper violent, and you know, throw that noir setting in there, and the black and white, and that Sin City feel. You're hitting all those right notes.
Sweet, man. I'm glad. And then we got another panel here. I didn't want to show too many panels because it is only 4 pages, but I would implore any writer out there that's, you know, trying to learn how to write comics. I think it's great to write in that really short format. I think that 4-page is perfect, so you can get your pacing across, your your dialogue and the points you want to hit in the story to get a small cohesive story. Because you look at a 24-page script, and you could just make it up of 4-page,
4-page segments.
Yeah. So that really helped me become a better writer, I think. So this is the first time you see him full in the story here.
That is badass.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, man.
I liked. Can you zoom in just a little bit more on that for me?
Yeah, sure. Let's see here.
There we go. Yeah.
I like how you got the people hidden in the shadows. Like there's one to the right, one to the left. You've got little faces. You've got faces and stuff in there to show that it's like coming from. He's definitely coming from someplace interesting, that's for sure. And I think the dude in the hockey mask or the ski mask is about to have an extraordinarily bad day.
He looks like he's about to shit himself, is what he looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even have to look at anything else to kind of figure out what's about to happen to this guy and what life choices he has made to get him to this point. You know, because like you said, if this guy comes knocking on your door and shows up, you have screwed up somewhere. And you know, and unfortunately, he is not a forgiving soul.
Yeah, and he has this one ability where he could look at a criminal and see the bad things they've done. It's not like people like I'll tell people and they're like, oh, it's like a Ghost Rider's penance stare. It doesn't.
I was just about to say that.
Right,
It's like Ghost Rider.
Stop you before you get there. No, it doesn't like do any damage to them. It's more of like he's looking back in time at their, I want to say sins, but I mean he's not like a religious character. I feel like that gives him that connotation. But the crimes they've committed.
Yeah, their misdoings.
And so he could, for whatever it's worth, pass judgment onto them. So he knows the hurt these people have put onto others. So he does that in this story. He'll do that. It's going to be a reoccurring trait that he has. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that's something to mention.
No, that's good. Yeah, I like that because I think where most people would get that mixed up with Ghost Rider's penance stare is when Ghost Rider does that, the person who he's doing it to feels it. Whereas if I understood you correctly, that doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah.
power doesn't. It causes the silhouette to feel it, and he can see it, but the other guy still doesn't have a clue what's going on.
Right. I kind of wrote that in so the audience knows how bad these people are, you know, so you can convey to them, you know, what these monsters have done. These monsters in human skin basically have done to hurt other people, and kind of a justification of that's why these guys are getting put down.
Yeah, it's conveying a message without saying a word.
Yeah.
So, who was it? James Hayes, I think, had a interesting. Let me see if I could find it. Anyway, says the guy in the background. It might have been. Oh, it's Vault Cobalt. He says, "I like the they say I'm going to mess this guy up good." I mean, you can almost see the smile on the dude's face.
Yeah,
he's getting ready to get to lay the hurt on somebody that he feels is a bad guy.
It is actually that white is placed just kind of like a smile on there.
Yeah,
kind of very menacing.
I'm really starting to dig this guy's. He's got a very what's the word? Vague, not vague, but a strong sense of right and wrong with his morality. But he's real vague on his own morality, and like him is he being a moral being? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that whole and that just made me think about that what he said when Cobalt said that. So yeah, that's a good thing to point out, because even though he has these very, very black and white views on morality and concepts of right and wrong, at the same time he is kind of being the mirror hypocrite of what he claims to stand for in a little bit of.
I mean, you've got the character perfectly. That's basically what this story is about. I wasn't going to pull up this panel, but I'll pull it up just because of that, because there's some dialogue in it that I think fits that perfectly. So he says, "I protect the innocent, for I have no innocence."
Gotcha. Okay.
So I thought that would fit that topic of discussion there perfectly.
That fits.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I definitely like that. I like that whole aspect of, it's almost like Vader's redemption story in a way, because to me that's what. And I know we're getting a little off subject, but I will bring it back around. To me, Star Wars is all about the redemption of Vader. This seems like that he has that same kind of personality where there was at one time good in this person, and there can be again. I can almost see him going on this journey and down this track as you bring in the backstory and stuff. I could be completely wrong, but just based on what I've seen, this is the way that I'm playing it out in my head.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting stuff to think about, and that's awesome that you're getting so much into this. I really dig. I'm glad I could show this off to you guys. Spoilers, Steve got.
Yeah, Steve's on it. Spoilers. I told you Steve would be here. Make sure you keep everybody in check.
I can't.
We had Vinny Art says, just a quick hello to my friends. Hail everyone. Hail Vinny Art. Thank you for joining us.
Boner King.
We got Eder von Biscayne in the chat. He says, this sounds like the plot of Frailty.
Frailty.
I'm not familiar with that.
Neither am I.
It sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you offhand. Going back, Riot Kitty says, so maybe like Black Butler, where you see their life play out like a record.
Oh, that's good. I love Black Butler. That's probably one of my favorite animes of all times. I mean,
good shout out.
Yeah, that's very good. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, I had to make sure that I circled back to that because I was like, yeah, she kind of nailed it there, I think.
I don't know what
you've never seen Black Butler or read Black Butler? Oh, that's you need to check that out. I
really watch anime.
Well, you could read the manga. It's good too. Yeah. Zebulon Pike says, does he have a shadow dong?
Of course, yeah.
Does it grow at will as well, or is it like just kind of 6 inches and he's done?
Well, I wouldn't say it's 6 inches.
Where Steve dives.
I think that's
Spoilers
something
on
we
this
can.
one. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Yeah.
Don't tell him about the dong. Vault says kind of reminds me of Venom, a personal fave, by the way.
Nice.
All right.
That's interesting because the original relationship between Eddie Brock and the symbiote, they were brought together because they were both, well, the symbiote was just looking for somebody to hang out with, but Eddie Brock was in a weird place, and so that's an interesting comparison as well. I don't know if I would go as far as saying that it is a little Venom-esque, but I wouldn't say that it's Venom, because there's two distinct personalities in Venom, and I think this is just this one guy.
Yeah,
I think he means more Venom in the fact that he could use the symbiote as kind of that darkness and expel it outwards and use it in crazy ways, kind of like the Silhouette does.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think anyway that's what he was going for there. Dive Ninja says thanks for showing us. Hyped.
Awesome.
I know I'm even more hyped now.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely hyped about this one, and as this story comes along and as you do the Lost Pages books and stuff like that, this is going to be the one that I'm looking for.
Awesome. Yeah, this is going to be he's going to have the first story in our Lost Pages book. Very prominent character throughout the series. There, he is, like I said, the first character that Brandon and I created to do comics with. So we definitely wanted to have him featured in there. There's basically the Lost Pages is a test, an exercise to write different genres of characters. So this is my vigilante character. I have a sorcerer mythological character that is like horror mythology where he fights big monsters. I've shown some of that on my Instagram. His name's Wildcard. He was actually the original.
That's the other one that I've seen.
Yeah, he was the original one that I pitched to Gat and Steve, and they okayed that, and they wanted to go with that guy. And then I finished this 4-pager, and they're like, "Man, we should go with this one." So you guys will definitely see Wildcard, and there's a bunch of other ones that just explore different genres of comic storytelling. And so sometimes like the story that Wildcard is going to be in the Lost Pages book, it's narrated all in iambic pentameter poetry. So someone's telling the story like that. And I even have a character named Masquerade, which I'm really excited about also. He only speaks in poetry. He's a very theatrical character. So there's a lot of different types of characters to look out for. And then, they come together eventually down the line, and they cross paths with each other. So,
well, you basically answered my next question, which was going to be: can you tell us a little bit about what the Lost Pages is without giving too much away? Which I think you just kind of did.
Yeah, I could say a little bit more. Well, the actual book is in the story. There is this big tome, and it is the Book of Lost Pages. In that specifically, we are told these stories through a homeless man, basically holding court to these other homeless people, telling these tales of heroes lost to time, and they're only told now, and they're real. They live in this world, and he's the only one that could read from this book, and whoever else reads it goes mad. But he's telling these different epic tales of heroes that no one's heard of before that will basically come together to write the end of the world. So that's my
wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Pan wow.
Right. Yeah, definitely a pan wow. Riot Kitty says sounds like a colorful cast of characters.
Thanks.
Definitely. I think that's the whole that sounds like the point.
Mm-hmm.
Gus Tyler Bush has a question. He says, does CG Jumpstart have a website? No, but CG Jumpstart is going to be tied into the CG only website when that launches.
This character Silhouette, man, I swear I'm about 95% sure that this could be its own book.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's what my plan was, to build a foundation for these characters, and then eventually they could have their own book. They all could basically stand on their own, but I want them to be intertwined and connected. So you'll probably see maybe, a year and a half from now, it'll be the Lost Pages, and it'll be, maybe like a 48 page or even more, where one half of it is wild card, the other half is a silhouette story.
Okay, I like that. So essentially, the Lost Pages is going to kind of be like a ZAID Comics imprint of sorts.
Yeah, sure, you could think about it like that. Yeah.
Okay, I like that because it sets it apart, from Magic Cop, but it also sets it up that yes, we're going to have these. It's this is all tied in together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I like the way you're building that up. I really do. Take over for just a second, Nick. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, when did this character first come into being? I mean, how did that happen with the silhouette? Like, were you guys just looking at noir type stuff? Were you reading detective novels at the time? I mean, how did this just come around?
A lot of our stuff starts as jokes. Like Phil was saying before, it was kind of like, what if you had like the shadow, but he was always a shadow. And then, like, well, what if you had this person and, his sidekick, and he was, he could only turn like sheet black, kind of like this guy. And that was his power, like, wow, how dumb would that be, for some things like this. And then just over time, the character just evolved, just from having, access to the green screen and stuff. And then, it was kind of just out of that, we thought, hey, we have these characters and we have, some cool things that we've fleshed out. So why don't we flesh these out even more?
Yeah. They just became more badass over time. I think less of jokes and be like, I'd rather not put something jokey out and make something pretty cool. So
he turned into always like the first bad guy in the Silhouette storyline for the first issue. His name was the Titler. And so it was like a joke, like we were writing it like in kind of the, we had like a really dark, gritty hero, but then we had like these really fantastical, over the top, colorful villains. So like the Titler was kind of like this, a very colorful guy. The dot on the lowercase I or the lowercase j is called a tittle. So he was obsessed with those. And so his jacket was covered in, eyes and stuff like that. And, we went like that route. But now, Phil has taken the character into a more serious direction. And I think it's definitely more mature, because when we were doing that before, I was in my early 20s, Phil was teenager, so, it's a different time mentally for us. So, we're catering to a different audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's I like that process though. Whenever I talk to writers, one of the first things that I ask them always is like, what's your process? How do you do this? That kind of stuff. Because it's cool to watch the stuff going from being a joke to being like something that you're proud to put out there and is serious, serious entertainment and serious comics and stuff like that. And because it's just one of the more interesting sides to watching that whole process go down. It's always like, it's good to have funny comics. It's good to have jokes, but sometimes it's good to have a serious gut buster like we got here.
Sure. Even Magic Cop started off as a joke, so
yeah, that's true. Most of our best ideas are jokes at the beginning.
There's nothing wrong with that. Starts off as something funny in your head that you're joking around about. Then next thing you know, it's evolved into a full-fledged story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the kind of talking about like a writing process, this one, because I had the full story for the Lost Pages book. The Silhouettes part was done already. It was written out kind of in a short story format. I wrote it as a short story and then adapted it into comic script. But this one, I was kind of thinking of what I could do as a 4-pager for him, because I had already done the wild card one. And the story is kind of interesting, where it takes stance looking at police officer, and he's chasing this criminal through the city. And the narration is kind of talking about how, police don't have respect anymore, and they're kind of looked at as monsters. Everybody's afraid of them. Children don't want to be friendly with them anymore. And that was, of course, inspired of what had been going on in the past, 2 to 5 years with all of that, the media painting, lawmen in this dark light, and just hearing friends of mine, people I know around anywhere being like, F the cops, they don't do anything for us and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to tap into that a little bit. So you get some of that in this story where you get from the perspective seemingly of this police officer chasing down, and then the tables turn and we get this big reveal of the silhouette. So I thought that would be an interesting way to look at something like that, but through a totally different character.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is going to be a very interesting, because, from what you've told me of this character, if he looks at that cop and sees something that he doesn't like, the cop's just in as much trouble as
sure
the other guy that he's chasing.
Yeah, if he's a crooked cop. Mm-hmm.
And it's Chicago, man. So there's a lot of that. And, that's something we're definitely going to explore in future silhouette, issues and storylines where, sometimes those guys are just as bad as the criminals.
Yeah, excellent. Good. I'm telling you, man, I'm really liking him as an anti-hero. And I mean, like, not your typical run-of-the-mill anti-hero either, but like we're talking like like I said earlier, one that's got a very vague, his own morality is questionable and very vague, but the way that he's got it set up where everybody else's is it's really going to be strong. I'm liking this a lot.
You guys mind if I read this out loud?
No, please do.
All right, cool. So, in the city of black, he is the absence of light, drenching the dismal and onyx blood so the good can shine brighter. The silhouette is able to physically affect the shadows around him, often ripping the darkness out of unworthy life, ever searching the shade for the forgotten story of how he came to be. In his eyes, there is only black and white. Step down the staircase of sin and watch your back, for not even the minds of the scum and the souls of the vile know what is shrouded within the silhouette. He is just one of the many players who make up the tales written in the lost pages.
Sweet. Yep, officially hyped.
Cool.
Awesome. Hell yeah!
Awesome. So I'm going to put those probably on our campaign page as little bio cards. I did one for every character that's going to be featured in there, just to get people hype about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, these are great. Any little thing like this that you can do in your campaign is always helpful. Bookmarks this, given some information about the characters up front, so people could start playing with them in their minds while they
precisely
while they start going through what you've got on there as a synopsis and stuff like that. I mean, I had no idea what this character was about, who was, or anything like that. And as soon as I saw it, I just started playing with it in my mind, and that's how I've been able to like kind of go with it throughout this entire thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about bringing this to everybody because he's been in our minds for years, and I think the longer you sit around with a character, the more you know them, the better you're going to be at writing them, knowing what they do in different situations. So as a writer, I hear a lot of people, comic writers, talking about, I have this idea, but it's taking me forever to get it out there. Maybe it's taking forever to find an artist. Maybe you don't have the money and stuff like that. Even though, that's a bummer. I've been there where before I got into ComicsGate, I couldn't find a reliable artist. But what you still have to do is flesh out your characters, write short stories about them, put them in different situations. So when that time comes, when you have an artist, you have awesome stories and situations and conflicts that they have to deal with. So you know them even more than you would if you only spent 2 months with them,
That's really good advice. Don't just sit there and tread water while you're trying to get funding together to get your project off the ground. Just keep plugging away and world build and come up with new characters and, like you said, new problems for your character to overcome. And just don't just stop and tread water. Just keep plugging away, and eventually it'll all come together, and then you'll have enough for not just a 24-page comic, but a full-fledged graphic novel. 48, 64 pages or more.
Right.
Yeah. Great advice. That's really, really good advice.
And that's another advantage that we have as solely writers, that they don't have, like artists don't have, they don't have the time. We have time. It doesn't take as long to write a 4-page script or to think about a character while you're at the gym or at dinner. We don't need to sit down and draw stuff out. I have character notes in my phone that I've, jotted down anywhere at lunch or something, just when something pops into my head, and all those things, accumulate to create a good story or a character. So take advantage of those things. Don't take those things for granted when you could just be daydreaming, basically, because that's, I'm a professional daydreamer. And that when you're a kid, that's all I did. That's all I did when I was a kid. So you take advantage of that as a writer.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. I think a lot of people seem to forget that, like you said, at one point in time, all of these stories that we see and hear, even like the myths of old and way back, Yor and Yon and all this other stuff, all that started as a daydream. Somebody was just trying to find a way to tell a story or to make something make sense to everybody else. Yeah. So that's definitely great advice.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and getting us super psyched about the silhouette. While we are here, why don't you go ahead and plug your current campaign, the Magic Cop, Drop Dead Legs.
Hey, cool. Yeah, so we are in demand now. We had like a long 2 months, grinding away at this, and it's been awesome. It got awesome reception, met awesome people. But yeah, this is our first graphic novel that we're putting on IndieGoGo, Magic Cop. It's an amalgamation of Miami Vice and Halloween Town, just smashing those two together. And the first story is the first case of our new Magic Cop. His name's Iggy Cromwell. He comes from a long line of Magic Cops, his wand passed down generation to generation, and he is made to detective right off of the graduation stage. And his first case is he's investigating a murder of a mermaid prostitute with the help of his new partner, who's a wolf man on the verge of retirement. And along the way, he's going to have to try to bring him back because the wolf man is kind of down on his luck, doesn't really care about the job anymore. So you get that cop, that veteran and rookie cop elements bounce off each other. Fast cars, hot beach babes, and even hotter crime. And the only detective with the spells to stop it is Magic Cop. So pick it up, guys. We just got to 5K, which unlocked these awesome bookmarks for you guys. And we're 2 backers away from hitting 100 backers. When we get to those 100 backers, there's going to be another perk for everybody that backed at the physical tier.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's not a zoomed in one.
Oh no, yeah, I'll have
picture
updates,
on here.
I think probably, right?
Yeah. Actually, if you go to the updates, you'll be able to see. It'll be bigger.
Yeah, 2 backers away from 100. Yes, there we go. Now we're talking. That's a little bit easier to see. Yeah, so there'll be double-sided bookmarks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, come on, guys. 2 more backers. That's all we need. 2 more backers to get to 100. And what's the next stretch goal?
It's actually the 100 backers. So when we reach our 100 backers, there's going to be a secret thing that we've not announced yet that's going to unlock, and every one of those backers is going to get that as well. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we'll reach that pretty soon because I'd like to show that off.
Now that's kind of unique. You actually set a backer number as a stretch goal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Brandon wanted to do some cool art, a little thing extra for everybody, and we're like, oh, we're almost 200, so let's put it at that. I think we'll probably show it off this week just to get people hyped up about it. We talked about it in our update video this week on our ZAID Comics YouTube channel, so I'm just going to talk about it anyway. So it's going to be a postcard from the city of Ambrosia.
I heard about this. Okay,
yeah. So it's this really cool card that Brandon whipped up, like those old postcards you go on vacation and send to whoever, or that "Wish You Were Her" postcard from The Simpsons. Awesome gag. But it's a City of Ambrosia postcard. It's got all your favorite detectives from Magic Cop on it, and Sexy Mermaid too. So that'll be fun.
Good choice, adding the Sexy Mermaid.
Yeah, that was Brandon's idea.
Yeah, that's a good perk. I like that. That's because it's celebrating your 100th backer, but at the same time, we get to all kind of be in on the celebration as well. Because I like these kind of stretch goals personally. I think it brings the creator customer divide and shrinks it down even more, because it shows that you guys are actually caring about not only reaching that goal, but also you want to like spread it around with everybody else. So I like that a lot. I've also noticed that you guys are out there, promoting other creators on your YouTube channel and stuff. I am subscribed to it and I do watch it. So
awesome. Thanks, man.
Very happy to see you guys doing that. I think that's one of the great things about ComicsGate. Only in ComicsGate will you see other creators trying to help other creators. I think especially in like the big two or the indie scene, where it's kind of implied in the name, everybody's looking out for number one, even though they may play that they're looking out for everybody else. At the end of the day, they're all looking out for themselves. And I think the great thing about ComicsGate is, yes, we're all here to make money and we want to get our books funded and everything like that, but we're going to give back and pick up that oar and help others get to the same success, because, you just got to keep floating that boat. You got to get that boat higher.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, we've been lucky enough to get on a bunch of people's shows during the campaigning phase of this Indiegogo, and what really kicked a lot of people in the butt to do that is Malin getting his streaming privileges revoked. So I'm like, I'll just start something small up. We do like 30-minute streamed videos, highlighting Indiegogo CG books, and it's a good time. Just cut straight to the chase, show off the page, get to know the creator a little bit, and then put them up afterwards so people can come in and watch. So if you guys are interested in that, we had Pillowman and Blanket Boy on. We've had Cybershock. A bunch of people were on that got funded, and just go over to ZAID Comics on YouTube and check that out.
Yep, it's good. It's a good channel. I like it a lot. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, you guys are picking up that oar, and like Dick said, when you guys help other people out, people will see that, and people are more likely to help you out.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it's for the betterment of everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's right, 100%. So yeah, you can just click on ZAID Comics' little icon there in the chat to take you right over to their YouTube channel, or just search ZAID Comics in the search bar. I'm pretty sure it's the only thing that will pop up under that channel name. Yeah. It's not one that's it's not a prevalent one around there.
Yeah, we do updates every Monday for Magic Cop Monday, and we also I do comic reviews. I just put up a review of the old Mask comic yesterday. Brandon looks at movie posters from a graphic artist standpoint, sees how like the mind behind making those. And we do streams. I was doing lettering streams. I have to get back into that, but because I've just been lettering so much, and so much has been going on. But yeah, we're trying to build the channel. We just passed 200 subs too. So
hey, not bad.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not bad. That's actually pretty decent. It's taken me, I think 8 months just to get my 3 something that I've got.
Yeah.
So you guys got a pretty good leg up. Not too bad.
Hopefully.
So yeah, make sure you follow these guys on the Twatters as well. I've got the links to their Twitter pages in the description. Keep up with all things Magic Cop and the Lost pages. And make sure you tune in right here to Art City Comics next week for another installment of CG Jumpstart Between the Panels. I will be revealing who's coming on this Saturday on the Weekend Woke Up Show. Make sure you tune in, or make sure you subscribe to Tinfoil Nick's channel as well, because he has been doing some awesome Sunday conversations with a bunch of different creators, and you definitely want to keep up with them. Real nice, chill streams if you like that kind of stuff.
Yep, no drama. It's all good and all fun.
Damn right. Until then, we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you so much in the chat for joining us. James Hayes for dropping links. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.
See ya.
Hey.